So we are I think we're on Lamed Ches Amid Aleph.
No, Amid Beis. We get to
Ches Amid Beis.
Omer of Nachman, about a little more than 10 lines in the bottom.
Yeah. Right. Last words. Omer of Nachman.
I'm sorry, Lamed Ches Amid Aleph?
Lamed Ches Amid Beis, toward the bottom. Problem is, like, I'm already like 2 blot ahead, so I forget where we got from. Arav Nachman, Hai man yoda lahadure leminim, Rav Idis lihader. Someone who knows how to respond to minim like Rav Idis, he should respond. V'loy loy lahader. Otherwise, don't get involved. Amrahu mina Rav Idis. Now we're going to have a sequence of a whole, like a long list of minim, the tinus of apikarsin, of people who are trying to argue with on Das Yehudis, and they're and these are the responses.
I'm sorry, where are we on the page?
About 10 lines up. Hahu mina.
Where which Amid?
On Lamed Ches Amid Beis, 10 lines from the bottom. Amrahu mina l'Rav Idis. Ksiv vel Moshe Amar Ale El Hashem. Said to Moshe, go up to Hashem. Now who is talking? Gemara says, Ale mi bai. Allah, you should go up to me. Why is the Rebbeinu Shalom saying Ale El Hashem? It makes it sound that one kaviyachol, obviously we're going to be saying over what the minim are saying, that kaviyachol, that there's one God figure that's telling go up to a different God figure. Amalei zehu matartran. Sheshmoy kishem rabbi. Gemara says this is the reason why it says Ale El Hashem. It's a very strange Gemara. I can't really wrap my mind around it, but we say that there's some Malach whose name is Matatron, who has the same shame, who's called by the shame of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore the Torah refers to it as if he was the one saying, go up to Hashem. The Siv Kishmi Bekirbi. Because his name, my name is amongst them, meaning that there are others that have the same shame as the Rebbeinu Shalom. Why don't we daven to him? And this is like, again, this is, you need people, it's way above my pay grade. But the idea is that we give a lot of credence to the shame, right? We don't even say the Rebbeinu Shalom's name. If there's an entity that has the shame, it almost sounds like he has some of the kaychas also. Zekemar, siv al tamaboy al tamireni boy. The Torah says al tamaboy, don't rebel. That means don't mix me up. I mean, don't mix me up with him. The Torah is saying specifically, no, there's a Rebbeinu Shalom and there's this other entity, but the other entity is just a malach that the Rebbeinu Shalom has delegated certain powers to, but it does not doesn't have any power connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So if that's the case, if he can't do anything, if he's not able to provide a kapara for you when you do a pesha, lamali, that's the way Rashi understands it. What's the purpose of having such an entity if he has no power? Amalehim nusa biyadan, we have a kabbalah dafilu pravanka nami lo kablina, that we don't listen to anything from this matranana. We don't even use him he can't even be a shliach to lead us. The Torah says, if the Moshe said, if the Rebbeinu Shalom Shechin is not going to come with us, then we're not going to go. Meaning we're not accepting any substitute for the Rebbeinu Shalom himself. Okay, that was one from the more confusing, at least theologically confusing discussions. Others are more grammatical. There was one min that said to Yishua Yosi, Ksiv, Hashem himtir al stein v'alamayra gafras v'eish me'eis Hashem. It says that the Rebbeinu Shalom poured down sulfur and fire, and it says me'eis Hashem. It sounds like the Rebbeinu Shalom did it from a different Hashem. Kaviyachal. Me'itaymi by it. So it said The Rebbeinu Shalom said me'itoi from himself. Why does it say me'es Hashem? Amalei ahu koivis shavkei anom hadranale. There was this washerwoman who said, "Don't you don't have to answer him. I know the answer." The Chsiv Yemel Lamech lenoshav Ada v'tzila. Lamech sent to his wife Ada and Tzila. Shimon koili neshei Lamech. Listen to my voice, the wives of Lamech. Lamech was the one saying this, and he said, "The wives of Lamech." Neshei boyle. He should have said, "From my wives, you should listen to me." Why do you say Neshei Lamech? That's the way the pasuk works. So too over here, this is just a convention in the Torah that sometimes, even though the person who is speaking is talking about himself, he'll refer to himself in the third person as a proper noun. So they were all surprised. Everyone turned to this washerwoman and said, "Where Rabbi Shmuel?" Rabbi Yossi asked, "Where do you know this?" So she answered me, "Pirkei de Rabbi Meir Shamalei." I heard it from the story of Rabbi Meir, from the drashos of Rabbi Meir. The Rabbi Yochanan Kavet Darish Rabbi Meir Bepirka, where Rabbi Meir would darshan in his when he would have people come to him, have a darish tilsa shmaitza. A third he'd say halacha, the tilsa agadta, and the third of it would be drush, the tilsa mitli, and the third of it would be mishalim. Rabbi Yochanan Gimel Meis Mishalos Shualim Hayalei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir had 300 mishalos that involved the fox. V'anu ein lanu ela shalosh. We only have 3, and they come from these psukim. Avos yochlu boiser. The parents will eat the grapes that are not yet ripe. V'shine banim tikiyana, and the children's teeth will become white. Maznei tzedek, amnei tzedek. And he also darshan from a pasuk of talking about you have to have scales that are tzedek, that are proper, that are not fraudulent, and avnei tzedek, and also the avanim should be the right weights. Tzadik mitzara nechlatz v'yavei rasha tachtav. A tzadik will be saved from a tzara, and a rasha will go in his place. So Rashi has a whole long explanation of what this mashal. It's a whole long mashal about a fox and the zev and a wolf, and they're going. The fox is I think the fox is the rasha, and the zev is a tzaddik, and they said that we'll go into the yidden and we're going to go prepare the Suda for Shabbos, and it's a whole story, and there's all sorts of mufarshim that explain how the mashal attaches to these 3 psukim. But since we have a long, if it would be a shorter block, we would go through the Rashi, but since we have a lot of ground to cover, we're going to leave it. Zok the Gemara. Amalei Kaifer Rabbi Gamliel. Elekeichem ganavu. The Rebbeinu Shalom is a ganav. Kaviyach. The Siv. V'yibal Hashem Elekim Tadema Alo Adam Vayishan. That the Rebbeinu Shalom put Adam Harishon into a sleep, and he slept, and he took away his mitzali, he took away his side or his rib, and he fashioned a chava from it. So he said he did it while he was sleeping. He stole his rib from him. Amalei Barsei. So the daughter of Rabbi Gamliel said, Shavke da anam hadrana. Like, you could be quiet, I can answer him. Amalei tnuli duchas echad. I'm sorry, this is the daughter not of Rabbi Gamliel, of this person, of the Rasha. She said, give me what do you call it? The Rashi says a shayfet. Give me a policeman, give me an investigator. Amalei lama. She said, Lamalech, what do you need it for? She said, Listim bo aleinu halayla. Listim, some robbers came in the night. They took a bunch of silver. And they left behind gold. So this Rasha, I'm sorry, the Kaifer said, well, I would have happy to have such a ganav come every day. I'm very happy with the exchange. So she continued. She said back to him, it was certainly a good deal for Adam Rishon that he had a rib taken away and he got returned a chava. someone to help him, a helpmeet. So she was pointing out the absurdity that you're calling the Bar Shalom Maganav. Amaluhu hachi kamina. So he said, no, that wasn't my question. I didn't mean to say that he stole her rib. I said, Ella l'shakle behedya. Why did the Bar Shalom do it while he was sleeping? Why couldn't he done it while he was awake? Amalei aisili umtsa de bisra. So she said, bring me some raw meat. Bring me a leg of a cow. And then she went ahead and she took off the skin and she isolate usva tusi b'chosha. She put it underneath the coals afikta, and she took it out. Amalei achol mehai. She said to her father, "Why don't you eat some of this meat?" Amalei misali. He said, "It's disgusting. I saw it just a few minutes ago that it was part of the leg of a cow. It's not appetizing to eat it now." Amalei adam rishon nami have a shakila behedya. If he would have had his rib taken while he was awake, have a misale. He would have made Chava disgusting to him if he knew where she came from. He said, I know, and they continue, the Meser Shah sticks in, Heichen Yosef, I know where your Rebbeinu Shalom is, and I know where he is. He was saying that the Rebbeinu Shalom is corporeal. He's not omnipotent, or I don't even know what the word is. He's not something that can't be grasped by humans. I know what he is. So it's nagid ve'isnach. So he sighed and he krechts. Amalei Maihai, he said, what are you upset about? Amalei ben echad yeshli b'krochai hayam. I have a son who's far away, v'yeshli giguim olav, and I miss him. Could you please bring him to me? He said, how can I bring him to you? I don't know where he is. So he jumped on him and he said, you see, you don't know everything that's going on. You claim you know when we say Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere. You say you know where he is, but you don't even know where a human person is. My revuse, what the Rosh Shalom counts the kechavim. My revuse, what's the great thing? I know metzino lemimna. I could count them as well. Keichvi. I could also count the kechavim. He said, all I need is patience. You have to sit down one night and start counting. I see chavushe. So he brought him a certain fruit. Shadinu ba'ar bila. He put him in like a salad spinner. And he started spinning them around. He was shaking them around in this spinner. Amalei mininu. Count the fruit inside of it. Amalei ukminu. Put it down. Stop spinning it so I could count it. Amalei rikia nami hachi. Hachi hadra. He said the Shemaim is also all moving. It's not standing still. You think you're going to sit and count everything. It's impossible for a human to do so because everything is always moving. He said, I counted already the stars. Said to him, how many teeth do you have? So he stuck his hand in his mouth and started counting them. You're going to try to fool me and say that you know how many kechavim there are? You don't even know how many teeth you have to count them? Misha bara harim le bara ruach. The one who created the mountains did not create the winds. Shneimar kihine yoitzer harim or bareya ruach. He is the yoitzer, the yoitzer of harim, the creator of harim, and the creator of ruach. But the pasuk uses two different words. One is yoitzer, one is bar. It's mashma that it's two separate things. So the Gemara, so he answered back. It says also by Adam. It says a lashon of bria and a lashon of a yetzer. Hachanami misha barazele barazeh. Do we mean in the Adam also there were two different virus? Tefach al tefach yesh by Adam. There's an area of one tefach by one tefach. Ushnei nekavim yesh by, and he has two holes, meaning I think in his head that he has his ears and his nose or his eyes. Misha barazele barazeh. Right? We have we have also two lashonos of noita and yotzer. So you're going to say it's two separate virus. You're going to say that's also two separate virus. Amalei in. So the kaifer said, yeah, well, maybe tak it's two separate virus. He says if they have two separate boroughs, that means there's two different people that are two different entities that are shaylat on each one. So they not only created them, but they also are the ones who are going to decide when they end. So what's going to happen? When a person dies, his ears will continue working, but his eyes will stop. The end should also be dependent on the boira of each one. So it's clear that they both were created by the same entity. There was this kishuf macha who said Tamema. The upper half of a person is from Hormuz. And from your middle to down is Ahormuz, is a different creator. He said, if that's the case, how does the top half allow? How does the bottom half allow the top half to pass its waste, its mayim, through him? The chayra, they would both fight over at the boundary and put them back and deport them back to where the maya where it came from. Amalei Keseler of Tanchum. The Caesar said to Rav Nachman, let's all be one nation. Said, why do we have to be separate? This is the suggestion of all the rulers throughout the Dairis. They all want to say, they all come with this suggestion, well, let's all be one. Now, Rav Tanchum understood very well what to be one meant. Okay, good, you're right, we should all be one. Said, we're already mal, so there's no way we can't undo that. That's a given. So if you want to be the same as us, you want us to be the same as you, so you have to then do Mila. So he caught the Caesar, because obviously the Caesar didn't want the Goyim to become like the Yidden, he wanted the Yidden to become like the Goyim. Amalei Meimer Shapik Amrit. You said well, you caught me and you got me. It's a good taina. Miu kol the Zachi Lamalka L'shduya L'Biber. However, the problem is you beat the Caesar, and that's not allowed. And anyone who beats the Caesar in argument gets thrown into the zoo, gets thrown into the enclosure with the wild animals. So that's what happened. They threw him in and nothing happened to him. The animals respected him. He said the reason why they're not eating him is because they're not hungry. So they threw this meat in also together with him, and the animals immediately ate him up. It's like what's his name, by Nimrod, by Avram and his brother, right? That he said the fire, it was not exactly the same thing, but you can't not loibechol ace nesaracha shnisa. Amalei kaifel Rabbi Gamliel amrisu kol be asara shchinta sharya. Said every 10 people there's a shchina, every million of people they get together to daven. The shchina is shayra. Kama shchinta ika. Said it's you see there's many shchinas. There's a lot of multiple gods kaviyachol. Kari l'shame. He called his shamash machabe ba'aftaka. He hit him on his shoulders. Amalei amai ol shimsha v'beisa the kaifer. He said I forgot who this was. Gamliel said to the shamash of this kaifer, why did you allow the son into his house, into this kaifer's house? He said, what am I supposed to do? The shemesh goes into every house. I can't stop the shemesh from coming in, the sunlight from coming into a house. So he said so he turned to the kaifer. He said, Umashim shadachad min elef alfei revuye shimshi the kami kedusha brichu. The shemesh, which is a hundredth of a hundredth, meaning not even a small percentage of what the Rebbeinu Shalom is. It could go on the entire world. Certainly the Shechina can spread out in multiple places without being different Shechinas. He said your Rebbeinu Shalom he's a makar. He makes, or he denigrates. The Kamalei Cheskel Shachav al Tzidech Hasmoili. You should rest on your left side. And you should rest on your right side. Also, my timer the shviyasa. It happened to be that at the same time that this Kaifer was giving him a hard time, a Talmud also came and asked him a question, to ask Ravo a question. What's the reason for Shvius? I'm going to be able to answer both of you. You should plant for 6 years, and the 7th year you shouldn't plant, in order that everyone should know that the land is mine. However, the Yidden did not do this. They were chayta v'galu min hagish al v'galu, and they were sent to the Gauls. Min hagish al melech basa v'dam shesircha alav Medina. If a melech gets angry at a province, imachzarihu hayrigas kulan. If he's a tough guy, he kills all of them. Imrachman hu hayrig chetchem. If he's nice, then he kills half. Imrachman mali rachman hu mitziaser hanoldim hagadolim shebehem. He's mitzayer the best of them, Yisurin. He'll take a few examples to and cause them, give them tsaras. Afkach, because Baruch Yaser Yisrael, the Bereshit is gave Yisurin to Yecheskel in Marak Avanesem Shel Yisrael in order to answer up the Avanis of Yisrael. So basically, to talk about the Shemitah, gave him a Pesach to explain that by Shemitah the Bereshit punishes the Yidden, but he doesn't do it by killing them all out. He causes Yisurim for their greatest, and the same thing, that's what happened to Yecheskel. Amalei Omina LeRebavo, Alekechem Kayenu, the Rebbe Shalom is a Kayin, the Chsev V'yikli Truma. The Rebbe Shalom says, you should take from me Truma, if the one who takes Truma is a Kayin. Ki Kavre LaMoshe B'mai Tavel. The Rebbe Shalom himself was buried Moshe Rabbeinu. There was no one else who did it. The Rebbe Shalom did himself. So how did the Rebbe Shalom, if he was a Kayin, how did he become Tyre again? If you'll say that there was water, there was a mikvah of aksiv, ki madad b'sha'eloi mayim. The Bereshit holds all the water of the earth in his hand. I mean, certainly not big enough to contain the Bereshit. Amalei benura tavel. He's tavel in fire. The chsiv ki hinei Hashem bo eish yavo. The Bereshit goes in eish. It's like mi salka tfilusa benura. Can you be tavel in fire? Amalei adarab iket tfilusa benurahu. The ikar tefillah is in fire. The chsiv whatever can't be brought in eish should be brought in mayim. Now, obviously, all this is nonsense. This is just an answer for this kaifer who's trying to ask questions. The Rebbe Shalom is not a kayin; he doesn't need tefillah, and certainly you can't be taivel from tuma to taira with fire. That what we say that fire is better than eish is only legabi, something that has tarfus in it. If it was by leia tarfus, so nevela, so then you burn it out. Amlehu mina l'Rabavino. Ksiv ki mika amcha Yisrael gayachad ba'aretz. My Ravusayu at the Narmi Avisu Bahadon said to him, why is so we're saying first we said mika amcha Yisrael gayachad ba'aretz. But he said, but you're also considered as part of the Gayar. All of the nations are like nothing to him, nothing to the Bnei Yisrael, and the Bnei Yisrael are included. So why in one place are they counted separately? You say that they're not like anything else, and then the other one they're included amongst the Gayar. Amalei miditchu asidu alon. So he said, your Navi, which is Bilam, he already said Edis on this. T'chsiv, but Goyim lo yischashev, the Yidden are not counted. That means, although in that reference we said by Goyim, it didn't include Yisrael. Einachanami Yisrael is unique and not counted amongst the other Umas. Rabbi Lazar Rami, Ksiv Toiv Hashem l'choil, Uksiv Toiv Hashem l'koivav. It says Hashem is good to all, and it says Hashem is good to those who seek Him out, those who yearn for Him. Mashal Adam Sheyesh LePardis. It's like a person who has an orchard. Kashu Meshakem Mashkes Kulei. When he waters it, he waters the whole thing. Kashu Oider, but when he does the more intense type of care, where you dig out around the tree, he only does it to the best ones. So Hashem Toiv Hashem LeKoivav, it's a different level of Toiv to the Bnei Yisrael that are those who yearn, who seek Him out. Zok the pasuk vayavar harina b'machne, and the happiness. This is all going to be about Achav. Achav was a melech who was a rasha, together with his wife Yizavel, who's also going to be mentioned in this Gemara. So there was a simcha when he died. The Vayava arena b'machlev at the sound when they found out he died. Amar Ravacha bar Chanina. B'avoid Rishayim rina. This is real, and this is coming from the Mishnah. The Mishnah had said if someone who's an aide is asked to be an aide, he says, I don't want to get involved in putting another yid to death. So the Mishnah said, B'avoid Rishayim rina, that we're happy. Adarabbi, you're doing a mitzvah. It's a good thing when a yid is when a rosh is punished. Sagt the Gemara, B'avoid Rishayim rina, B'avoid Achav ben Imri rina. With the destruction of Achav, who was a Rasha, who was Achav ben Imri, Rina. There was Rina. Umi chadi kucha brichu b'mavalasan shal Rishayim. In fact, the Gemara does the Rebbe Shalom really celebrate at the death of a Rasha of Aksiv b'tzei safonai hachalutz, when the armies went down to the front, v'ayimrim hoidul Hashem ki le'olam chazdai, and they say this is after one of the wars that the Yidden won. He said hoidul Hashem ki le'olam chazdai. We always say B'Haidul Hashem ki tayv ki la'olam chazdei. But here we only said Haidul Hashem ki la'olam chazdei. Because there still were people who were dying, so the Rebbe Shalom doesn't celebrate that. This is very familiar by the Yam. It says like Karv Zel Zeh Kol Halayla. The Pashup shot is that they didn't come near each other, but the Rashi in Chumash says this also, that Zel Zeh is the lashon that we know from Kedusha. That's what the Malachim say. Like Karv Zel Zeh Kol Halayla, the Malachim wanted to sing, and the Rebbe Shalom said we don't sing when my I forgot the lashon, when my children when those that I created are drowning in the sea. They want to say Shira. He said it's not the time for Shira when my creations are drowning in the Yam. He says, so the answer, what's the answer, right? We were asking a question. How come they were happy b'shas when Achav died? The Rebbe Shalom is not misameach at the mapalotzon of Rishayim. So there's who einisas. The Rebbe Shalom doesn't celebrate. But he suggests others. The Yidden should celebrate. They cannot be siv yosos v'loik siv yosos. The Rebbe Shalom said you should celebrate, not that I am celebrating. Shema mina. The pasuk continues. This is still by Achav. It says the zoynes were washed. What does that mean? Amar Rebbe Lazar lamarak shtei chazyonis. It's to fulfill the two chazyonis. We say zaynis, but you change the hey to a ches, so it sounds like chazyonis. To fulfill the two chazyonis, the two nevuas achashal michio, achashal liyo. Michio ksev im shuv tashav b'shalom lo'diber Hashem. The Rebbe Shalom said, he said a levua, if he's going to return, then the Rebbe Shalom did not speak to me. But the Rebbe Shalom did speak to me, saying that Achav is not going to return; he's going to die in the battle. He said that Achav is going to die, and this whole memory that we just said before, and the dogs are going to lick up his blood in the place where they licked up the blood of Dam Nevois. Rava Amar Zaynis Mamash. He says a different shot. When it says Rachzu Zaynis Rachzu, it's talking about actual Zaynis. Achav Ish Metzainen Haya. Achav was a frigid man, and he needed his wife Yizavel needed to inspire him. She put two pictures of Zaynis in his wagon, that he should look at them, and he should be aroused. So therefore, when his blood got on these pictures, and then they got washed off. They got licked off by the dogs. And this is talking about the death of Achav, that a man pulled his bow letumai, and it hit him and it killed him. Allah says he was doing it innocently. He didn't realize that that's who he was shooting at. The lashon of tumai is the two nevuos that we mentioned before, that he was going to die. Let's go a little weiter. Simin krav ezacha ba'adoim. Siva yikra achav alavidio. Asher ala bayis. Avadio was Mamuna on the house of Achav. Yorei Hashem Oid, and Avadia was a Yorei Hashem Oid. Micah Amar Kra. What is the pasuk saying? Some take out the word Kra, but what does this mean? That Hashem. Why are we talking about that? Avadia was a Yorei Hashem Oid. Amar Rav Yitzchak Amalei b'Yaakov ksiv nechashti v'chani v'Hashem b'glolech. But Yaakov, it says with Lavan that Lavan said, "My house was blessed because you were in it." Yosef said, "Hashem has based Hamitzri b'glal Yosef." And by Yosef also, the house of Potiphar was gebenched because Yosef was in it. So Achav said to Avadia, "Beisadahu gavel have a mivrach. My house is not benched. Shema lo yorei kemata. Maybe you're not in sufficient yorei Hashem, and that's why I'm not getting benched like Yosef and Yaakov caused the house of the Rishayim that they were by to get me benched." Yatsa baskav amra v'aydiah ha yorei Hashem oid. Aval beis shalachav einu muzam lebracha. Said that no, it's not. The fault is not with him. The fault is with you. You Achav are such a disgusting Russia that even with Avadia, you're not Roy. Amar Abba, Gadol shenemar b'Avadia yosim shenemar b'Avram. There's a certain aspect that Avadia was greater than Avram. Ilu b'Avram like ksiv ma'oid, b'Avadia ksiv ma'oid. But it says ma'oid here, which it didn't say by Avram. Amar Yitzchak ma'zacha Avadia l'nevias. What was his zacha nevias? Neishe hechvia meya neviim b'ma'ara. He hid 100 neviim in a cave. Shenemar he behachris Izavel es nevi Hashem. When Izavel started to kill the neviim. He hid them 50 neviim in 2 ma'aris, so a total of 100 neviim. Maishna 50 ish. Why did he do 50 in each one? He learned that it's better to split up the yidin, the neviim, so that if one gets killed, the others will survive. Ravo says a very balabashib pshat. There wasn't room for everyone in one mara. This is the vision of Avadio. This is what Hashem says to Adam. Why are we talking about Adam with Avadio? Amar Yitzchak, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Yavai Avadio Hadar ben Shnei Rishayim, Avadio who lived with Achav and Yizavel, and he v'loy lamed masayim, and he remained at Tzaddik. V'yinaval Esav Arash Hadar ben Shnei Tzaddikim v'loy lamed masayim. You say on Esav, who's exact opposite, that he lived with Yaakov and Rivka, and I'm saying with Yitzchak and Rivka, and he didn't, or Yitzchak and Yaakov, and he didn't learn from them. Amar Ephraim Mikshah, Hamida Shel Reb Meir, who was a Talmud of Reb Meir, Mishum Reb Meir, Avadyo Ger Admoini Haya, he was a Ger from Edom. Behind the Damri Inchi, Minayu Bey Oven Nazel Bey Narga, that from the forest is taken the handle that is put on an axe and used to cut down the trees. So it means Avadyo, who came from Edom, he was the one who brought the klala on Edom. V'yachas Moyev v'yimdedein b'chevel hashachei v'isam hashkei v'isam arza. That it talks about David that he killed Moyev and he measured them with the rope, those that were lying on the ground, and he killed 2/3 of them. That David, who came from Rus Hamayveya, he was the one who killed out Moyev, because he came from Moav. The same thing that he came from Moav. Just like we said, the axe handle comes in the forest. He said a similar vart. He expressed the same thought that a thigh gets rotten from the inside. From Avadio, who was part of Edom, and David, who was part of Moav, his grandmother was. That's where the defeat started. Back to Achav, he took his son. I'm sorry, this is not Achav. This is talking about the Goyim. They took their oldest son and they brought him as a oil al chayim. Rav Shmuel Chad Amar l'shem Shemayim. One said that the guy, the fighters, those who were being loichem, the melech was being loichem on the Yidden, was doing l'shem Shemayim, was bringing oil to Hashem. V'chadam l'shem avodah zarah. Bishlam Mandam l'shem Shemayim haindu savei he ketzav gadol al Yisrael. Now we can understand why this was a big time on Yisrael, that he was bringing his son as an oila to Hashem, and the Yidden at that time were being avodah zarah. Was a terrible contrast. So So Gemara could Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rami Ksiv, Kamish B'tei Agam Asher V'Seichem Lo Yasisim. You shouldn't do like the Goyim around you. Ksiv Mish B'tei Agam Asher V'Seichem Asisim. You did do like them. What it means to say is that, well, the part of the Psukim are stira. What it means to say is that you didn't do like those who are good. There were some kings who were machnia themselves to Hashem, but you instead you followed those who were Oived Avodah Zarah. So we brought he brought his son as a oila to Avodah Zarah, and the Yidden followed him, and that was why it was a ketzef. We used to make oila v'yeshuv la'aretz amar Rechani bar Papa. V'yisasher yadu shel Yisrael l'madrega hatachtoina. V'yeshuv la'aretz means that they went back to the lowest level of Tumah. It doesn't say, because it doesn't say la'aretz, it doesn't go to artzai, it says la'aretz. Panar yafa ad ma'id, we said a lashon of ad ma'id before, so we're saying something on that. Amar Rechani bar Papa. Adayin le'gil l'chati yoyf shel sar d'chsev ad ma'id v'loy ma'id b'chlal. This is talking about Avishag Hashunamis that was brought to David when he got old, and says Ad Ma'id. Says Ad Ma'id. Sarah was Ma'id, but she was only Ad Ma'id. Okay, Hadran Allah Echadini Mamanis. Hashem, tomorrow. What time are we going to learn? I forgot where we're up to these days. What's the preference?